Okay. So, good evening, all of you. We'll be discussing the GS3 today. Okay. So, see, GS3, if you see the marks of the toppers of the last 4 to 5 years since 2018, I guess. Okay. So, since 2018, GS3 ऐसा पेपर है कि जहाँ पे the average marks okay. So the average marks are the lowest among all the 4 GS papers. Okay. There are few reasons behind it why the marks are lower compared to the other 3 GS papers. Okay. So if you see, the average marks is 80 for the normal aspirants. For rank holder, if you see, it is in the range of 85 to 90, and for the toppers maximum it is going in the range of 95 to 100. Okay, there are hardly 15 to 20 people every year who are able to cross the 100 mark benchmark. Okay, and last year from the Smash Mains, we had 7 students who were able to clear that 100 benchmark because we followed certain parameters. Okay. Specifically, see, first of all, you need to understand that the reason behind the lower marks in the GS3. Okay. So, reasons behind lower marks. Okay. So, see, there can be multiple of the reasons. The one where you are not able to attempt the question itself. So, the nature of the questions, where there is a randomness, greater randomness compared to the other papers. Second, the difficulty level. Or third, it can be the paper are very lengthy. Okay, so normally these three are the logical reasons because of which the students might get lower marks in all these 3 paper in GS3, okay, or in any other paper. But these none of these 3 criteria are applicable to the GS3 paper because the questions, if you see, the nature of the paper is not random. Okay, if you have interacted with any of the aspirant who has given the mains, you will see that the maximum content he has written in GS3 paper. आप किसी से भी पूछ लो कि सबसे ज्यादा आपने किसमें लिखा है, he will tell you that it is GS3 where he has put the maximum of the content. Secondly, he will be most confident with respect to his content and attempt in GS3 paper only. Why? Because the nature of the question, unlike in GS2 or in GS1, where they are asking you the questions from the niche topic. For example, in GS2, we saw the question on the corrupt practices under the Representation of People Act. That's very specific. In GS1 also, they asked about the Chandela architecture. Again, that was very specific. But unlike that, in GS3, the nature of the questions is very broad. Okay. So the content generally is not the issue. So everyone is writing or everyone is able to attempt the GS3 questions. Okay. Secondly, difficulty level is also not on the higher side but moderate to easy. Okay. In terms of the difficulty level, GS2 is more difficult than the GS3. Okay. And third, with respect to the lengthiness, Again, it has not been the criteria. GS4 is generally more lengthy than the GS3, right? So why still people are getting lower marks in GS3? The primary reason behind it, as the questions are on the broader themes, okay, as the difficulty level is moderate, and as majority of the aspirants are able to attempt all the questions, okay, the richness of your content plus the dimension coverage. Okay, normally in GS 1, 2 and 4, what we suggest is in 10 marker, you need to go for average 11 points. In 15 marker, around 16 to 17 points. But to get good marks in the GS3, you need to increase your dimensions or the points to from 11 to around 12 to 13 in 10 marker and around 17 to 18 in 15 marker. So that's the number of dimensions. And second, richness in terms of use of the data, use of the examples, and use of the graphs. Okay, this. So the formula which we applied, because of which 7 of our students were able to cross 100 benchmark in CSE 2024, was in every answer we tried to provide at least 3 data points. 70% of our points were substantiated. At least one graph or map in every answer. And while giving the way forward, we tried to mention at least one government scheme, state level best practice, at the level of state and global. And third is the committee. Okay, or reports. And this applies to all the subjects of the GS3, be it environment, be it economics, be it agriculture, be it internal security, disaster management, or science and technology. Okay, always this is the formula which we followed for the GS3. Okay, now coming to the weightage of the subjects, it has been constant. So if from economics you have 6 questions, from agriculture you have 3 questions, from science and tech you have 2 questions. Again, one question was overlapping with environment, the question on the biotechnology and clean energy. So you can put it in either science or in the environment. Okay, so one was overlapping between the science and environment. The environment you have 4 questions, internal security 4 for 50 marks, and disaster management you had 1 question. Okay, and this is the pattern which is consistent. Now coming to the questions. So the first question, distinguish between the Human Development Index and inequality adjusted Human Development Index with specific reference to India. So this is the first part of the question, where the core demand is first to distinguish between HDI and IHDI, and second with special reference to India. And the second part of the question is why IHDI is better indicator. So the reasons behind inequality adjusted human development index being the better indicator of inclusive growth. So every year you have a question on the inclusive growth. Okay. You have the PYQ also. Okay. Now, introduction again, you can give a factual introduction with respect to the Human Development Index and Inequality Adjusted Human Development Index. You can basically define both the concepts. So, HDI was introduced by UNDP in 1990 and measures a country's progress in terms of health, education, income, whereas Inequality Adjusted Human Development Index introduced in 2010 refines HDI by factoring in inequality of distribution of these achievements. Okay, so basically you are defining both the concepts in the introduction itself. Then you come to the differences. Okay, so in differences also you first mention the criteria. Human Development Index measures life expectancy, education, and per capita income. Okay, then second is the major focus. Major focus is on the average achievement of a nation. Second is on actual distribution, or you can also mention it is more of a quantitative measure of the growth, whereas this is the qualitative measure of the growth, right? As it is focusing upon the distribution of the growth, right? Then nature, it reflects potential human development, whereas it measures the real human development. Okay. Then strengths, again it is simple, easy for global comparison based upon the numbers, whereas the inequality adjusted HDI is more inclusive and better for policy planning. Then one, you mention the limitations and mention India's recent rank. Okay, so that is basically the with respect to the differences part. Then you come to the special reference to India, right? So special reference to India means here you first highlight the India's achievement in the Human Development Index, okay, and then India's achievements or India's limitations with respect to inequality, right? So first, again, Human Development Index, the same data which we have used in GS1 also on the questions related to poverty, right? So rank, improvement in the rank, okay? So that data you can give. Then poverty, reduction in poverty from 52% to the 16% in multidimensional poverty indicators, okay? Then with respect to inequality, you can quote the data from the Oxfam also, rising inequality, right? That data also you can mention. Then India suffers a 30% GDP loss because of the inequality. Okay? That. Then the second part of the question is why inequality is better indicator of inclusive growth. Now, as they are asking the linkage between the inequality adjusted human development index and inclusive growth. Okay, so basically what they are asking is the interlinking between these two concepts. So in such questions, the formula which we used in our previous papers also, the components of one concept, that is inclusive development, we will be using the components of that as a subheadings, right? So what are the components of inclusive growth? Yes. So the components of inclusive growth include, yes. Yes. So components of inclusive growth are women empowerment, right? Abolition of or elimination of poverty, improved standard of living, right, access to health and education, right, or sustainable development, or protection of or provision of social security. Right. These are the different aspects of the inclusive growth. Now, based upon that itself, you can generate your points. Right. Compared to the Human Development Index, yeah, inequality adjusted Human Development Index is the better indicator of gender gap. Example, you can give the gap in labor force participation rate. If you have the data, you can put that data. Right. Second, poverty. Okay. It measures the distribution of deprivation and income distribution. Right. You can substantiate it by giving the data. Right. Third, with respect to the standard of living or access to health and education. So inequality adjusted Human Development Index, okay, reflects the gender as well as rural urban digital divide in terms of access to education. Example, rising digital divide post COVID, right? Then access to social security benefits. Okay, on the basis of that also you can generate the point. And second, what they have asked basically is why it is a better indicator of inclusive growth, right? So based upon the components of inclusive growth, you can generate the points. Second, you can also highlight its significance, that is, it helps in policy formulation. Okay. Second, it helps in targeted interventions. ठीक है, वही आपके पॉइंट्स आएंगे, राइट? इफ यू सी द एक्चुअल आंसर कि व्हाई inequality adjusted human development index is the better indicator, ठीक है, कि first it measures the inequality in terms of education, health, right, income, showing the real distribution of gains, right? Second, it reveals hidden gap. Example, gender gap in the labor force participation rate. Third, it guides policy better or helps in targeted policy making, right? Next, fourth, with respect to poverty, it is the better capture of intergenerational equity, you can say, or intergenerational poverty, right? Yesterday itself we have solved the question where we have seen how inequality leads to the poverty, right? कल ही हमने किया है, so same point you can write. Then one, support SDG. This framework also we have incorporated in our previous answers also. Kal in GS1 also and in GS2, social justice answers also. Ki rather than using the SDG into the conclusion, we are making one point. Right? Ki aligns with SDG 10 and SDG 1. Right? So that is why it is a better indicator. Then you provide the conclusion, the similar for all the questions related to the poverty. What we are doing is we are using the Amartya Sen capability approach, where he has linked development or capability with the freedom, right? So as per Amartya Sen, development is about expanding freedoms. So policies based upon or policies aimed at elevating inequality, okay, are essential for sustainable or inclusive growth, or you can also link with Viksit Bharat, right? You can link it with any theme. That, okay. So this is how you have to use the components based approach. Now coming to the second question, what are the challenges before Indian economy when the world is moving away from the free trade and multilateralism to protectionism and bilateralism? How can these challenges be met? Okay. So basically this question is from the economic survey. Okay. And I had predicted this question correct. So in our FLT itself, we had asked the question, in the context of global trade policy uncertainties, there is need for strengthening the levers of domestic growth. This quote itself is from the economic survey. Okay, so we already had asked this question. Then last year also I had asked the similar question. Global economy becoming increasingly decentralized. How can India leverage this? Okay. You had the PYQ also on this theme. So we got this particular question correct. And इसका जो model answer है, this answer is directly from the our FLT model answer. Okay, you had to write the exactly same. Only thing, how you can bring in more precision. Now if you see, you just bifurcate the question into the keywords. The first core is demand is the challenges. This is your first demand. When world is moving away from free trade and multilateralism, this is your implicit demand. You briefly I have to highlight this also. World moving away from multilateralism and free trade, and how can these challenges be met? This is your way forward, which is again your second core demand. So the question has two core demands, one implicit demand. Okay. So as this is from the economic survey, we are using the quote from the economic survey itself for the answer. Okay. And this particular quote is from our model answer only. So according to economic survey, the previous paradigm of stable geopolitics and free trade investment movement has been fading, and the foundations on which many nations build themselves are now being shaken. Okay? Or you simply remember this much, as per economic survey, the previous global paradigm of stable geopolitics and free trade regime, okay, is on decline, and presently we are facing the deglobalization. The same terminology we used yesterday also in IR question. Yes, deglobalization means multipolar world only. That then world moving from free trade and multilateralism to protectionism and bilateralism. ठीक है? यहाँ पे again you can give the same examples. The trade wars, US China, WTO deadlock over Doha Development Agenda, the rise of regional and bilateral deals like RCEP, right? Then rising protectionism. So EU's carbon border adjustment tax or mechanism, right? And weaponization of the supply chains, or weaponization of the supply chain nationalism. Yesterday also we put one point, okay, vaccine nationalism. Right, the same point you can write. No? Then after that part, where we established world moving away from free trade and multilateralism, we'll come to the challenges. Okay. So challenges is again, these are the complete points from the This the model answer. Okay, this graph also. So this graph basically highlights global trade policy uncertainty. Okay, all you have to do is basically this is highlighting the evolution. No, even if you are not able to remember all these three, even if you remember 2 to 3, first Nixon shock, where of 1970s, okay, then you can come to the Brexit and Trump election, then US-China trade wars, okay, during that time, and this is at present. Okay, even if you highlight this much, this is sufficient. Second, to generate the points with respect to the challenges before the Indian economy, you need to understand the different dimensions of Indian economy. Okay, so what are the different dimensions of Indian economy? आपका जो भी whatever economics book you are reading, ठीक है, for the static, उसके index में जो भी chapters है, ठीक है, these are going to be your dimensions of Indian economy. So challenges for Indian economy, how you have to generate the points is challenges to fiscal policy, challenges to monetary policy, challenges with respect to balance of payment, that is export, then different sectors, challenges in manufacturing sector, challenges in agriculture, challenges in service sector, then challenges with respect to inflation and unemployment. ठीक है, इसी पर्सपेक्टिव से यू कैन इजीली जनरेट द पॉइंट्स. जो भी आपका इंडेक्स है, वट एवर द स्टैंडर्ड बुक यू आर रीडिंग फॉर द इकोनॉमिक्स, on the basis of that itself you can easily generate the points. ठीक है, this is the crude way. And to go into the specific, जैसे deglobalization trends, then fragmentation of global trade, volatile capital flows, ठीक है, कि जैसे this is impact on the monetary policy, right? Then supply chains delay, then energy security challenges due to sanctions on Russia. Currently we are importing 40% of our crude oil from the Russia, right? You can put that data. Currency depreciation, then recently rupee fell to around 88 rupees, that is your BOP related point. Then the climate change risks, okay, basically with respect to the critical minerals or the weaponization of the supply chains, right, with respect to China. Then this is the trade barriers, rising sanitary phytosanitary measures, right? Then reduced market access and impact on the employment, right? You can mention the points with respect to the recent Trump tariff, or you can mention the impact of Trump tariff.
Could you mention about the women as well?
Yes, so basically manufacturing sector, ठीक है, example reduced textile export, ठीक है, service sector, example H1B visa tightening, right? Then what else you have with respect to FDI, ठीक है, then this is a reduction in investment, right? Example Trump threat to or Apple cancelling the project in India, or Trump's threat to the Apple CEO, right? that also you can add. These are also the challenges. Okay. That so you can cover from the perspective of the monetary policy, fiscal policy, BOP, that is with respect to the currency, then with respect to the trade and different sectors of the economics. Okay. Next thing, this is how you, if you have the frameworks ready, then with the within given time, that is, you have to write it into the 7 minutes. So within that time, you are able to generate. If normal aspirants is generating 5 points, you will be able to generate around 7 points. Okay. And then last demand is the way forward. So in way forward also, rather than simply writing the way forward, you can classify your way forward in terms of the domestic measures and international measures, or internal and external, right? So within internal measures, what measures you require? One is with respect to the policy, right, which is the fiscal policy and monetary policy, right? Second is with respect to giving boost to the demand. Third is with respect to Atmanirbhar Bharat. Right, and if you go sector specific, you can give one sector specific point on the MSME. Right, these are your internal measures. So ease of doing business reforms, right? Then raising the investment rate, then boosting the domestic demand by increasing the capital expenditure, right, rather than the revenue expenditure. Then strengthen MSME and enhancing the manufacturing competitiveness. Okay, so you can mention the PLI scheme, or you can also mention the Gati Shakti scheme also. Okay, improving logistic competitiveness through Gati Shakti scheme. You can give the point with respect to the service sector also. Okay, there are multiple points. You can talk about the service sector also. Okay, diversification beyond US. Right, key targeting the market beyond the US, like ASEAN is there, Europe is there. You can talk about them. Then knowledge economy, right? You can talk about this enhancing the research and development. This will be peripheral point, but service sector perspective also you can generate a point, right? With respect to diversification. Then international measures is one with respect to the conclude the early FTA, because the trend has been regionalism and bilateralism. So on bilateral level, you conclude your FTAs. For example, recently we concluded with UK. So on the similar line, you finish your existing ones. UK, we have already done it. EU, Australia, or the US also you can mention. Right. Then diversify export markets beyond US. Diversification ka point should always come. Okay. Then global leadership of the global south in terms of the WTO reforms. Then trade corridors like India Middle East Economic Corridor, International North South Transport Corridor, Chabahar Port, right? And then digital trade leadership. इसका भी एग्जाम्पल यू कैन गिव दी AI summit जो प्रीलिम्स में क्वेश्चन आया था, ठीक है, यू कैन गिव दैट एज ए एग्जाम्पल, ठीक है, दैट देन कंक्लूजन, ठीक है, एंड एज इट इज मोर अबाउट दी आत्मनिर्भर भारत, ठीक है, यू कैन मेंशन आत्मनिर्भर भारत ऑल्सो, और यू कैन लिंक इट विद द इकोनॉमिक सोवेनिटी ऑल्सो, ठीक है, दैट. The next, so if you see the total points in this 10 marker question that we have covered, 11 plus 10, 21 and 5, 26 points I have given. right? So even if you understand this mechanism of generating the points, I'm not saying you have to write 21 points, but out of that 21, you will be easily able to recall at least 12 to 13 points, right? So if you have the frameworks ready, then only you will be able to generate one or two extra dimensions, and that one or two extra dimension is going to give you that 0.25 mark, right? And simply, this is a perfect answer because this mentions the report, it fulfills our criteria, it has the examples, so all the points are substantiated using the examples. Here also it has multiple examples, it has graph, it has data, and I am not bringing any random data. To get this data we have you already know, or this data we have used in our previous papers also, right? This. Okay. Next, explain how the fiscal health index can be used as a tool for the assessing the fiscal performance of states in India. So how it can be used, this is your first demand. Second, in what way would it encourage the states to adopt prudent and sustainable fiscal policies? Okay. But so basically this is your way forward. Okay. So again, as the question is on the theme, just like this human development index question, for this question also we will be using the similar framework where we will be giving the factual information with respect to that particular report or index, right? So fiscal health index is the initiative of Niti Aayog. Okay. Or if you can see, if you read the question also, okay, how it can be used as a tool for assessing the fiscal performance of the states. Okay, so even if you know that it is prepared by Niti Aayog and it is helped to assess the performance of the state, right? So one of the principle of Niti Aayog is the competitive federalism, right? So you can prepare the introduction on that lines. Fiscal health index of Niti Aayog aims to promote competitive, as this is index, basically index gives the ranking, so aims to promote competitive federalism by evaluating the fiscal policies of states. Okay, this can also be your introduction. Okay, just highlight this, make a colon, that's it. Okay, this is also a decent introduction. Then how it can be used to assess the fiscal performance. तो fiscal performance का आपको basically assessment करना है, ठीक है? So what are the components of the fiscal policy? Yes, fiscal policy के components क्या क्या होते हैं?
First is the tax to GDP ratio.
Yes, revenue collection, that is tax to GDP. Second,
The maximum potential to collect taxes.
expenditure, right? Whether it is revenue expenditure or capital expenditure.
Source of revenue.
Third, yes,
The source of revenue.
source of revenue. What else? Fiscal policy chapter आपने पढ़ा है ना? Another, public debt.
Debt to GDP ratio.
Yes. What else? What are the other component or one last important component of fiscal policy?
The maintaining the deficit limit.
That will come into the public debt. Debt point आ गया ना? Government schemes. whether they promote capital expenditure or whether they are populist in nature, right? So how it assess fiscal performance on these parameters? Okay, so it assesses the revenue potential of the state or the tax to GDP ratio. Okay, it compares the source of revenue for the different states. Okay, it analyzes the expenditure of the states, whether the expenditure is or more expenditure is done in the capital account or more capital expenditure or the revenue expenditure. It also comments upon the public debt of the states. Example, high public debt on states like Punjab. Right. Then it reviews the government policies and then comments upon the populist policies like the power subsidy to the farmers. हो गए आपके points. ठीक है. Now if you see on the similar lines, it provides a comprehensive evaluation on indicators like tax buoyancy, debt to GDP, fiscal deficit, capital expenditure, right? Then enables ranking of state and promotes competitive federalism, identify the weaknesses. That is, you can write this, for example, in terms of the government schemes, whether schemes are uh, focused upon the capital expenditure or are populist in nature. Okay. Then source of revenue, है ना, evaluates ability to raise own tax and non-tax revenue. Then comments upon the debt. Right. Then it also provides the policy guidelines and also assess long-term sustainability. ठीक है, that. And as a one, if you have read about this, you will write it as a fact file in a box with respect to the recent index. So as per recent fiscal health index, Odisha topped the ranking. Okay, that. And how fiscal health index encourage prudent and sustainable fiscal policies. Again उसी के points. ठीक है, कि वही जो dimensions है आपके fiscal policy के, on the basis of that only, कि अब one dimension is fiscal debt, right? So it promotes fiscal discipline, right? To reduce discipline and unsustainable borrowing. If you want to put the data, you can put the data in here. Key FRBM target of what is the target?
This to
3%, right? For 3% of GSDP, gross state domestic product. ठीक है. Then incentivize capital spending rather than revenue expenditure, checks populism, discourages unsustainable freebies. यहीं पे एग्जाम्पल लिख दो, पावर सब्सिडी और फ्री, ये तो बहुत है, लाडली बहना, loan waiver also you can give. Then promotes revenue reforms, that is to increase tax and non-tax revenue mobilization, right? Then debt sustainability and promotes, again वो index है, it promotes transparency and accountability because the scores are released in or scores are in public domain, right? It promotes efficiency in spending by prioritizing the capital expenditure over revenue expenditure. Then it also promotes long-term planning, right? Yeah. And if all of these are there, it boosts investor confidence, right? On the basis of this, what you can do is you can also draw a circular diagram, right? कि fiscal health index. No, it promotes cooperate competitive federalism, right, which nudges towards reforms, right. Reforms leads to greater or efficiency in government spending, right. It leads to reduction in the GDP, sorry, not GDP, reduction in the debt, plus it also leads to growth, which increase investor confidence, and it further promotes growth, right. As I you can draw, this is also fine. And then you briefly mention the challenges कि आपके वही high debt burden, unequal capacity, that is few states or the southern states have the greater capacity or the fiscal space to bring reforms compared to the northern states. And then way forward, briefly 2 to 3 way forward you can give and conclude. And in conclusion you can link it with the, it is a diagnostic, that is it diagnoses the issue as well as incentive mechanism, that is it also promotes. ठीक है, and it is important to realize the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. ठीक है. The next rationale of PLI scheme, what are its achievements, in what way functioning and outcomes of this scheme can be improved. Again, this was again an expected question because it was a broader theme. We have already covered this. The model answer again is वही, इसका जो model answer है वही model answer है ये. ठीक है. So PLI scheme again, the origin based introduction scheme का launched in 2020 across 14 key sectors. ठीक है. Provides direct incentive on incremental sales, ठीक है, aligning with vision of आत्मनिर्भर भारत. ठीक है. Then rationale उसका क्या है? This is very easy. Rationale is to promote manufacturing. ठीक है. The objective is to increase the share of manufacturing to 25% of the GDP. Yes. For manufacturing, promotion of manufacturing, what you require? Investment. So attraction of investment. Then what can be one more objective? Employment generation, to generate the employment in labor intensive sectors. What industrialization, rather than that you can mention balanced regional growth. Okay, then it is focusing upon 14 sectors, right. So focusing upon the future industrial sectors like solar or semiconductors. Okay, then solar or renewable is also one sector. So promoting or facilitating the green transition, right. So PRI for the solar photovoltaic cell. वही आपके वो सेक्टर ऐड है कि आपको देखना पड़ेगा PLI के अंदर. ठीक है. So वही boost manufacturing sector, investment, import substitution, that is to create the raw materials also in India. Earlier what we used to do is we used to import the raw material and we used to just assemble it in India. And because of that, there was one core issue in India's manufacturing sector is the inverted duty structure. That the price of raw material is greater than the final product. Okay. So it aims to prevent that. Then enhance exports, employment, technology transfer. So FDI आएगा तो अपने आप technology आएगा. And last, sunrise sector. ठीक है. So that is the rationale behind PLI. यहाँ पे भी if you want you can link और वो लिंकेज आप एस्टेब्लिश कर सकते हो. PLI मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, ठीक है, competitive or enhancing the share of manufacturing sector. This will employment plus exports, ठीक है, further investment in economic growth. On these lines you can establish it in one of the points. Okay. Then again what they have said, rationale, in what way can the functioning and outcomes of the scheme be in, so what are its achievements? So these are again achievements on these lines only. कि how much of the manufacturing has improved, which companies have invested, what is the total employment generation, ठीक है, वही आपके अचीवमेंट्स में पॉइंट्स आएंगे. So investment realization attracted 1.46 lakh crore of the investment. Production and sales, so majorly the PLI का सबसे ज़्यादा फायदा हुआ है आपके मोबाइल एंड इलेक्ट्रॉनिक सेक्टर को, ठीक है. सो इंडिया हैज इमर्ज्ड एज आई थिंक सेकंड लार्जेस्ट मोबाइल मैन्युफैक्चरर, ठीक है. सो वो डेटा यू कैन गिव. देन एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन अराउंड 10 लाख. देन एक्सपोर्ट्स, मोबाइल हाँ सेकंड लार्जेस्ट मोबाइल मैन्युफैक्चरर, ठीक है. देन डाइवर्स सेक्टोरल कवरेज, 14 सेक्टर्स में ही जितने जितने के नाम आपको आ रहे हैं वही लिख दो. Import substitution, reduce dependence on Chinese APIs for pharmaceutical industry, right? Then global competitiveness, investments by Apple, Foxconn, Samsung वगैरह. वही. Then issues, ठीक है, even if you are giving achievements, they are still asking कि in what way its functioning can be improved. मतलब उसमें कुछ तो issues है. Directly going to the way, before going to the way forward briefly, don't write it into the point format. It's just you can use the diagrammatic representation, highlights the issue, ठीक है. So अब कोई भी स्कीम के इशू मेजर क्या होता है कि वन कि the scheme has not been implemented uniformly, ठीक है. So basically majority of out of 14 sectors, ठीक है, only the benefits were taken by the mobile and this electronic sector, ठीक है, और disproportionate allocation to mobile and electronic sector. Second, the criteria excluding the MSME sector, ठीक है. थर्ड, कि पैसे गवर्नमेंट जल्दी नहीं देती है, सो डिले इन द डिसबर्समेंट ऑफ द फंड्स, ठीक है, वही. देन जो हमारा पहला क्वेश्चन था, राइजिंग प्रोटेक्शनिज्म, ठीक है, इम्पैक्टिंग द एक्सपोर्ट्स, वही पॉइंट लिख दो 3 से 4. स्पेसिफिक्स ये कि जैसे सेक्टोरल स्क्यूनेस, मेजर success is towards mobiles pharmaceutical, exclusion of MSME, right? Then implementation bottlenecks, which is nothing but regulatory cholesterol. This is the keyword. Multiple clearances required, and one more, delay in the fund dispersal. Okay, 4 are also more than sufficient, right? Then you come to the way forward, ठीक है, उसी के solutions दे दो. And conclusion, to become a true driver of Atmanirbhar Bharat, it must shift from subsidy driven to innovation driven, export driven, SME inclusive and sustainability oriented. इनमें से 2 भी आपको याद आए तो भी चलेगा. So from basically it is a subsidy driven scheme, so it needs to shift from subsidy driven to innovation driven, MSME inclusive and export facilitator or export linked. Then India aims to become a semiconductor manufacturing hub. What are the challenges faced by semiconductor industry in India? Mention the salient features of the semiconductor mission. Okay. So again, semiconductor we have already asked in the advanced tests. Okay. There are two themes which I continuously ask the question. One is the semiconductor, second is the critical minerals. ठीक है, इस साल अगर नहीं आए, last year also I was expecting a question. Last year it didn't came, so we put the question in the advanced test. This year it came. Next year it can be critical minerals. ठीक है, GS1 में आ सकता है, but ठीक है. So again, quote, India aims to become semiconductor manufacturing hub. What are the challenges faced by industry? Challenges, salient features of the India semiconductor mission. ठीक है. So semiconductors are the oil of 21st century, powering everything from electronics to defense systems. This, and then you attach a context with, in context of US-China trade war, Taiwan crisis, or weaponization of the supply chains by China. ठीक है, the achieving Atmanirbharta in semiconductor is strategic imperative. That can be your one introduction. Or you also have the National India Semiconductor Mission, launched in 2021 with outlay of 76,000 crore. ठीक है. Then challenges, again मेजर आपके challenges कौन से आते हैं? वन, अगेन किसी भी इंडस्ट्री के, you just understand the important components of any industry, right? What are the important components? Yes, raw materials.
Investment.
So we don't have raw materials. Second, you require research and development. So our spending on the R&D is 0.7% of the GDP. ठीक है. Third, you require infrastructure. We don't have that. ठीक है. Fourth, you require skilled workforce. ठीक है. Fifth, you require government policy support. ठीक है, कि while US and China focused upon the semiconductor since last 2 decades, ठीक है, India started focusing since 2020. ठीक है. What else you require for any industry?
Market.
मार्केट, डोमेस्टिक मार्केट ही है हमारे पास. You require technology. ठीक है. On the basis of that itself you can prepare the points. So availability of raw material, specifically the lithium ion वगैरह. ठीक है, वो. Then second, की requirement of the investment, is lack of private sector participation. Third, skill gap. ठीक है. Fourth, lack of research and development because of low spending 0.7%, or lack of industry academia linkage. ठीक है. Next is the, again, government policy. We already talked about. The focus on the semiconductor has come from 2020, 2021, whereas US and China focusing on the industry since last 2 to 3 decades. ठीक है. Absence of the critical technology.
And also
ठीक है.
supply chain.
Supply chain also. ना तो वो तो raw material में आएगा. ठीक है. That will come into the raw material. One more, again the same point, global uncertainties. ठीक है. With respect to the dominance of China, geopolitical risk, supply chain dependent upon the Taiwan etc. वही point आएंगे आपके. ठीक है. So for establishing any industry, whatever components you require, based upon that you can generate your points. ठीक है. Then salient features of semiconductor mission, ये आपको देखना पड़ेगा. Then we provide the brief conclusion. ठीक है. That. Then scope of food processing industry in India, elaborate measures taken by the government in food processing industries for generating. Again, this is on the similar line. ये भी same question है. This is अगर if you would have read the expector notes, उसमें 3-4 pages का दिया है, उसमें all the data map everything is there. Here we have asked this also on the role of food processing sector. So scope of food processing industries is nothing but role of food processing sector itself, right? That. ठीक है. Next. Fact. Now coming to the agriculture. Again, this is related to the कौन से चैप्टर का क्वेश्चन है ये? This is from which chapter of the agriculture? Crop diversification chapter in it is cropping pattern. Take a see the simple formula or the fundamental formula that you need to follow is you need to know the syllabus properly. चैप्टर पहले पता करो, हर चैप्टर के की पॉइंट्स आपके पता होने ही चाहिए. So जैसे क्रॉपिंग पैटर्न यू नीड टू हैव 2 to 3 points, sorry 2 to 3 pages notes. Whatever question comes on the cropping pattern, once you understand the theme कि this belongs to cropping pattern, वही पॉइंट्स को आपको रिफ्रेश करके यूज करना है. जैसे सेम क्वेश्चन you had on the same theme कि reasons behind the rice wheat system in India, right? उसी फॉर्मेट में है. So यहाँ पे भी they are asking the reasons behind or what reasons can influence farmers for selection of high value crops, right? It is also a simple question. Again, cropping pattern we have also asked कि how has the cropping pattern changed. ठीक है. That again, what are the factors? What can be the factors?
This is MSM. Oh, sorry, MSP.
Okay. Again, cropping pattern is determined. अगर आपको पता चला, once you understand what is this belongs to the cropping pattern, you will be easily able to get the points. One, what are the factors? For any crop to grow, you need inputs. So access to seed, quality seeds, fertilizer, access to irrigation, right? Second, technology. ठीक है. Third, you need capital, so access to long term credit. So technology with respect to micro irrigation you can say, or with respect to the mechanization. ठीक है. Next, for growing any crop you need to have policy support. जैसे गवर्नमेंट प्रोवाइडिंग एमएसपी टू दी this pulses or millets will shift to this, or national horticulture mission aim to promote high value crops, right? Or this परंपरागत कृषि विकास योजना aim to promote organic farming. ठीक है. और APEDA try to promote agriculture exports, right? So government policy support. What else you require? You require basically the demand, right? The development of agroponics or vegetable farming near the urban centers, ठीक है, or semi-urban centers. What else you require? What else you require?
chain from the farm to the market.
Yes, supply chain. So before supply chain, what is there? Storage,
Storage,
right?
storage and the transportation.
Storage infrastructure, like cold storage, because many of the high value crops are generally perishable, right? Then what do you call that access to the food processing units or value addition unit? Forward backward linkages.
Okay. Also the procurements.
तो गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी एमएसपी में आ जाए. डन. आ गए आपके पॉइंट्स 1 2 3 इसमें 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. ठीक है, इसमें 2 पॉइंट्स आपके आएंगे, राइट? 10. नो, इफ यू सी, हाँ, high value crops such as fruits, vegetable, spices, plantation crops, flowers, and commercial crops provide greater returns per hectare compared to the cereals and pulses. Factors: agroclimatic condition. ठीक है, फर्स्ट कि जैसे टी इन आसाम, स्पाइसेस इन केरला, एप्पल्स इन हिमाचल प्रदेश. मार्केट डिमांड, vegetable and fruit cultivation near urban centers. Then income or profit, right? That then access to inputs, so irrigation, example, sugarcane in western UP and Maharashtra. Access to inputs like seed, fertilizer, pesticides, right? Example, BT cotton. Access to credit, example, access to technology, right? Then storage, processing, value chains. ठीक है. Then government policies, national horticulture mission, export opportunities, then risk perception, labor availability, proximity to the urban markets. Then briefly you can highlight the challenges. वही जो स्ट्रक्चरल हमारे challenges है कि 86% farmers are small and marginal. Yes. Then credit constraint, weak extension services, वही. And then you can conclude with a bit of way forward. No, to higher far income and sustainable agriculture, or you can link it with the doubling of farmer income. और इस कमेटी का नाम था वही यू मेंशन. ठीक है. Even here also if you see there are 13 points, and if you know the framework, at least 10 points तो आपको easily याद आ जाएंगे. Scope and significance of supply chain management of agriculture. ठीक है. Again, this question also we have asked. This time we have asked it 2 times. One की role of APMC in supply chain management in agriculture and role of food processing in improving the agriculture value chains, right? In both the model answers, ठीक है, I have given the diagram of the agricultural supply chain, and by default introduction you can give the definition, right? The farm agricultural supply chain right refers to the flow of agricultural produce from farm to fork. You mention simply the stages. So from production, storage, transportation, processing, marketing. या फिर यहाँ पे भी if you stop then also that's fine. You just add the diagram कि farmers, industries, distributors, retailers, consumers. ठीक है, that. Then scope of this. ठीक है. अब scope में simply you have to use the temporal framework. ठीक है, कि स्कोप में एग्रीकल्चर वैल्यू चेन आपका कहाँ से स्टार्ट होता है? इट स्टार्ट फ्रॉम फार्म टू फोक, राइट? सो फार्म में क्या होता है? फर्स्ट इनपुट, इनपुट के बाद हार्वेस्टिंग, राइट? उसके बाद क्या होता है? दिस इज योर फोर्क, बट इन बिटवीन यू हैव स्टोरेज, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन, value addition, right? Then you have retail and wholesale, wholesale and retail, and then you have consumer. यही points आपको, you have to write these points only, right? From farm to fork. ठीक है, so production planning and input supply, timely access to seeds, fertilizer, irrigation machinery, post harvest management, right? That then storage, transportation, market linkage, processing and value addition, digital integration, या फिर export या फिर directly wholesale and retail also you can mention, right? Then the second demand is the significance of supply chain management. So what is the significance of it? Yes, again हर एक stage का significance आप दे दो, right? If you have the proper inputs, that will lead to the enhanced productivity, right? Second, if you have the better storage, that will prevent post harvest losses. Value addition, ठीक है, और yes, value addition will improve nutritional quality plus income, right? That वही आपके पॉइंट्स आएंगे सिग्निफिकेंस में. Reducing losses, enhancing income, food and nutritional security. Then if you have the proper supply of it, okay, or if you have the stronger supply chain, there won't be any hoarding, so that will lead to price stabilization. It will also boost your export, it will give rise to the employment, encouraging crop diversification, ensuring sustainability. Okay, that's why it is important to understand the concept of supply chain of the agriculture. So from input to the consumers. Okay, or along every step you need to know, and if you want, you can put the data also. Okay, here it is around 90%, 90,000 crore, or around 40% is currently vested. Okay. Then briefly at the end, challenges दे दो, and you can give the way forward. Conclusion on the similar lines, transforming, doubling farmers income we have already provided. So here we have to give the different key, increasing the or transforming Indian agriculture into modern, market oriented and globally competitive system. ठीक है, और if you want कि strengthening the supply chain, will enhance the resilience and sustainability of agriculture.
Also, could be used the
Navi.
India's aspiration to become the 5 trillion economic goals to the sustainability of agriculture.
Yes, that also you can mention. $5 trillion economy also you can link. Okay. Then how does nanotechnology offer significant advancements in the field of agriculture? Nanotechnology, agriculture. How can this technology uplift the socio-economic status of the farmers? Again, socio-economic. So यार इसको ये कैसे करते हैं? ठीक है. Socio-economic status. No. Here also if you see, ठीक है. So here also if you see, so the two nanotechnology offers significant advancements in the field of agriculture. So simple, एग्रीकल्चर के आपके कौन से कंपोनेंट्स होते हैं कि वन with respect to the inputs ki improving the input efficiency, so application of the fertilizer, with respect to the irrigation, with respect to seed quality, right? That second, with respect to the, apart from this you can also talk about value addition, right? Third, disease control, ठीक है. Fourth, enhancing the nutritional value, ठीक है. And then second, how it uplift the socio-economic status of the farmers. तो socio-economic aspects कौन से होते हैं? One, income. Second, resilience.
competitiveness,
What else?
inclusivity, मतलब
नहीं.
that the regional
Social and economic पूछा है उन्होंने. Yes. No. It can promote crop diversification. ठीक है. Now again you start with the definition of the nanotechnology, the science of materials at the nanoscale, right? So advancements of nanotechnology in agriculture. So different aspects of the agriculture in nano fertilizers, example nano urea, right? Nano fertilizers. Nano urea, nano pesticides and insecticide. Then with respect to the soil health management, nano sensors detect soil pH, moisture and nutrient level. Then it will help in precision farming, right, with respect to application of the inputs. Then in water management, that is we talked about irrigation, water purification, desalination, controlled irrigation, right? Then control from the this disease control.
also can be used as
ठीक है.
a land surface, the better efficient land surface.
Nanotechnology कैसे? ठीक है. That is the drone or AI you can talk nano, right? Then post harvest management, that is the value addition वाला aspect कि nano packaging films with antimicrobial properties can enhance the shelf life, so reducing the wastage. Then value addition में genetic improvement, right? This. Then so the different aspects of the agriculture again, and socio-economic upliftment again ki improving the productivity, right? Reducing the costs. Third, better value, right? Fourth, building resilience. Fifth, generating employment. Sixth, improving health. वही पॉइंट्स आपके आएंगे. एंड आफ्टर दैट ब्रीफली यू गिव द चैलेंजेस वे फॉरवर्ड. तो वही चैलेंजेस आपके कौन से आएंगे? हाई कॉस्ट, राइट? देन लो अवेयरनेस अमंग द फार्मर्स, ठीक है. देन वही स्ट्रक्चरल इशू की फ्रेगमेंटेड लैंड होल्डिंग, वही. एंड देन सी के करस्पॉन्डिंग यू कैन गिव द वे फॉरवर्ड. ठीक है. सो लाइक प्रीवियस आंसर्स ऑल्सो कि जो हमने GS2 एंड GS1 में भी किया था कि इवन व्हेन दे आस्क यू द स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चंस, राइट, सो इवन इफ यू डोंट हैव द स्पेसिफिक डेटा और स्पेसिफिक एग्जांपल्स, then also simply based upon the arguments you can generate the dimensions, and based upon that you can get decent marks. Okay. Okay. Now coming to the environment again, here also we got a very good hit in this particular question. Ki what is carbon capture, utilization and storage? What is potential role of CCUS in tackling climate change? We had asked the exact same question. What are artificial carbon sinks? So basically, CCUS is the artificial carbon sink only, right? Direct carbon capture, carbon utilization, carbon capture, storage, utilization, all are the artificial carbon sinks and their potential, right? So जो हमने आंसर इसका मॉडल आंसर जो है, दिस इज द सेम मॉडल आंसर, ठीक है. So CCUS is the technology aimed at capturing CO2 emissions from its source, transporting it, or either utilizing it or storing it in underground formations. You simply add one diagram, okay? And then again, because that as they are asked what is, right? So yesterday also we have seen that just definition is not enough. So beyond definition you have to give brief elaboration. So diagram de do, and capture, store, utilization where you can utilize it, and storage where you can store it, and potential वही. तो पोटेंशियल में क्या क्या आएगा उसका कि 1, अचीविंग इंडियाज क्लाइमेट गोल्स, राइट. सेकंड, यूटिलाइजेशन मींस इट हैज इकोनॉमिक वैल्यू, राइट. थर्ड, रिड्यूसिंग द पोल्यूशन, राइट. फोर्थ, की मिटिगेटिंग क्लाइमेट रिस्क. फिफ्थ, as we are utilizing it, ठीक है, or as it is one kind of the industry, it also generate employment, right? That, so reduction in industrial emissions, support to net zero goal which is 2070, right? Then this negative emissions via bioenergy, right? Bioenergy and carbon capture and storage generating negative emissions by removing CO2 already in the atmosphere. Then energy transition, because the storage is done in the old geological formations, जैसे abandoned mines etc., right? That. Then mitigating climate risks, job creation, geological potential of India, ठीक है. ये अगर आपने मॉडल आंसर पढ़ लिया होता you would have all these points. Then challenges, again, as it is a new technology, high cost of the technology, lack of technology transfer from the developmental or the developed countries, right? वही. Then moral hazard, if you get the solution or if you get the technological solution, you won't be having any incentive to reduce the emission, right? That is the moral hazard, or you can call it slippery slope. Then even if you store it into the abandoned mines etc., there is always a possibility of leakage, right? So possibility of leakage, 8 points you can generate. And as you are giving the issues, you can also give the way forward. This कि वही way forward में ही कि 1, invest in R&D, ठीक है. Then see, generic also, even if you don't have the content for it, but you can write invest in R&D. So present 0.7% to 1.5%. Greater industry academia linkage, ठीक है. Promoting private sector participation. Third, global cooperation and technology transfer, ठीक है, through UNFCCC. Those points also you can easily generate. Then conclusion, ठीक है. बस. Okay. Next, saltwater intrusion in coastal aquifers is the major concern in India.
Previous question, can't we give examples Amazon forest?
But for what? storage.
Yes.
As they are already the forest, where are you going to store them?
No, sir, they absorb a lot of carbon emission. No?
But that is the nature-based solution, no? That is not the technological solution. So in this particular one, you store the carbon in the geological formations. जैसे abundant आपके जो ये होते हैं माइंस या caves वगैरह जो होते हैं वहाँ पे you store और inside the water also you store. ठीक है? Then seawater intrusion is the major concern in India. One, what are the causes? Second and third measures. So for 10 marker you have three demands, right? Again you start with the definition. Landward movement of saline water into coastal aquifers, degrading the quality of groundwater resources. Right? Why it is a major concern? Key water crisis. You can give the NITI Aayog data also. Okay, with respect to water crisis. Then second, it also impacts agriculture. Agricultural losses impact livelihood with respect to the fisheries and coastal farming communities. Then also impact the industries because of the this water crisis. Then it is also worsening with the climate change. Okay. Then causes हमेशा whenever you are talking about the causes of any phenomena in environment or in disaster management, if possible classify it under the natural and anthropogenic causes. ठीक है सर, जैसे मैंने इम्पैक्ट का कहा था, you think whether there can be any positive impact, right? Similarly यहाँ पे भी with respect to causes, natural anthropogenic में you classify. So natural causes are sea level rise, tsunamis, cyclone, storm surges, right? And low river discharge during dry seasons. Anthropogenic वही over extraction of the groundwater, urbanization and concretization, then unplanned urbanization or the encroachment upon the wetlands. Example Chennai facing zero day, right? Then sand mining, again unregulated bore wells. Those points you can write. Okay? And remedial measures, artificial recharge, then management of the extraction or regulation of the groundwater extraction. Okay? You can mention Mihir Shah committee also. Okay? Crop diversification, then community participation, ecosystem based measures like mangrove restoration, who does the pure water purification, etc. Then you can also talk about desalination plants. You can adopt the global best practice of the Israel, right? That rainwater harvesting is also there. Rainwater harvesting ka best example is the Chennai or Tamil Nadu mandatory rainwater harvesting policy. Okay. You can also have the global best practices of, there is one sea wall in Netherlands. Okay. That global best practice also you can add. Okay. And conclusion, again you link it with the sustainability. Okay. Or water availability. Next. Again it is a similar question. Key factors responsible for the depleting groundwater, steps taken by government. This also we predicted, because again this is a basic theme. And that is why at least you attempt all the tests of this mesh. Okay, and जो भी tests आप नहीं लिख पाते हो because of the time constraint or any other reason, at least read the model answers. ठीक है. No, the basic tests are already uploaded. No? ठीक है. Between prelims and mains you have FLTs, 12 FLTs. So through FLTs we have around 50 to 60% of the hit ratio. ठीक है. और बाकी के जो बचे हुए होते हैं those are from the basic tests, because in FLTs we generally try to ask more of analytical questions. जो एकदम basic topics होते हैं we try to skip them in FLTs and we tend to cover them into the basic tests, right? जैसे groundwater, it was a very basic concept, so we asked them in the basic test, right? Then larger extractor of the groundwater in the world, accounting for 25% of the global extraction and over 85% of the rural water supply, and 60% of the irrigation is dependent upon irrigation. So this is your data-based introduction, right? Then factors responsible for depleting groundwater. Again, factor why different. What are the factor? What can be the factors? One, agriculture, industry, urbanization. What else? Population rise. What else? These are all anthropogenic. What are the natural? Climate change you can mention. Or erratic monsoons. Yes. Right. Okay. Erratic monsoons. No, then वही आपके पॉइंट्स आएंगे. Yes. So over irrigation for water intensive crops. Example Punjab, Haryana. Inefficient irrigation practices. So high surface runoff. जो मैं बोलता हूँ बस वही कीवर्ड याद रखो उसी से. Contour farming is one of the way forward, no? So to prevent the this soil and water erosion, contour farming is practiced. ठीक है. Then again policy वाला वही same points we had covered in, अगर आपको याद होगा तो, then fiscal health index वाले question में power subsidy वाला वही, that is also the reason. Then environmental factors, declining rainfall variability, ठीक है. Example Vidarbha Bundelkhand region, right? Reduced surface water availability, deforestation and urbanization, ठीक है. Then industrial factors, industrial overuse and pollution, urban expansion, encroachment upon the wetlands, ठीक है. Then policy, lack of regulation, populist policies, ठीक है. It will be the similar points. Then steps taken में you just have to mention the schemes. अटल भूजल योजना, जल शक्ति अभियान, एक्वीफर मैपिंग एंड मैनेजमेंट प्रोग्राम, कृषि सिंचाई योजना, सब्सिडी, क्रॉप डाइवर्सिफिकेशन प्रोग्राम्स एंड community based initiatives. You can also mention one key state level schemes also. Okay, here you can mention Mission Kaktiya of Telangana. ठीक है. Reviving the traditional irrigation methods or water storage methods. Or you can also mention state level Jalayukta Sure scheme of Maharashtra. ठीक है. That also state level also. This will add more value to your answer. ठीक है. That. Then way forward. Again you can mention one is the this Mihir Shah committee. ठीक है. Second, one important technological innovation that we need is the aquifer mapping. Okay, we need to have the clear data with respect to the overall groundwater inventory of India. ठीक है. So aquifer mapping is one aspect. ठीक है. Next, shift again crop diversification, enhancing the irrigation efficiency through micro irrigation वगैरह. वो ऊपर वाला जो हमने क्वेश्चन किया था सॉल्ट वाटर इंट्रूजन का, you write the same point, preventing the salt water intrusion. You talk about the urban planning, ठीक है, protecting the wetlands, ठीक है, that, ठीक है. Then water and food security for 21st century. Yes. Then write a review on India's climate commitments under Paris agreements. Basically what they are asking, They are asking your review. Review means where its strengths, weaknesses, means basically achievements and limitations. ठीक है, बाकी सारा पार्ट छोड़ दो, बाकी सारा पार्ट आपका एक पेज के अंदर ही खत्म हो जाएगा. ठीक है, जिसने ये वर्ड अच्छे से पढ़ा, रिव्यू. अगेन we were able to predict this question. India has made a notable progress. Gap between climate ambition and implementation persists. In this context, analyze India's performance against key climate targets against this Paris Agreement. ये क्वेश्चन मैंने लास्ट ईयर भी पूछा था. I was expecting this last year also. This year also I asked this question. ठीक है. This again, because this is again an important thing. So if you see, this is in FLT advanced test, this is in basic test also. Basic test is based factual question, current affairs based, and this is analytical. ठीक है. Then Paris Agreement adopted at COP21 in 2015. ठीक है. The objective to prevent it below 2%, preferably to 1.5%. And climate commitments, again, emission reduction in emission intensity to 33% to 35% by 2030, non-fossil fuel to around 40% of installed capacity, carbon sink creation 2.5 billion to 3 billion, then adaptation measure and technology transfer based upon CBDR principle, right? That then COP26 in Glasgow, we gave the Panchamrit principles to net zero goal by 2070, non-fossil capacity 500 gigawatt, renewable share around 50%, emission intensity. So from earlier 33 to 35, we increase it to 45%, and emission reduction. This and latest the changes, these are the latest changes. ठीक है. एंड रिव्यू की अचीवमेंट्स, वो हर एक आपके जो भी हमारे गवर्नमेंट के ऑब्जेक्टिव्स थे, ठीक है, और वॉट एवर आवर टारगेट्स आर, अगेंस्ट दोज टारगेट्स वी हैव गिवन द अचीवमेंट्स एंड इट्स लिमिटेशंस. दिस इज वन रिपोर्ट कि क्लाइमेट एक्शन ट्रैकर. Okay, so we have compiled this data from the climate action tracker report. This is the exactly same model answer, nothing else. So emission reduction make what is our achievements, renewable energy mein our achievements. Okay, again this is more updated data is, this is I think around 210. Okay, and we have achieved 50% target. Okay. So data you need to update a bit. And the gap between ambition and implementation, or dependence on fossil fuel, shortfall in carbon sink, emission intensity may be unambitious. So these are all the data. And then way forward. Conclusion. Again, this one important data we had given, climate change may lead to the loss of around 25% of GDP by 2070. Okay, so we have used that into the conclusion. Okay. Then coming to the disaster management, mineral resources are fundamental to the country's economy and they are exploited by mining. So here first non-core demand is the importance of mineral resources for economy. Okay. Why is mining considered environmental hazard? Okay. So the issues related to it and remedial measures means way forward. Okay. So 50 to 60% of the aspirants will miss out on this demand. Okay. They won't highlight the importance of the mining for economy. Okay. So Mineral resources are backbone of industrial and economic growth, and they are basic raw materials for modern civilization. Okay. Then importance of mineral resources. यहाँ पे you have the scope to draw the map also. You can draw the map also. That is also fine. ठीक है. The major mineral regions also you can show. Then importance of minerals for energy security, for industrial development, for manufacturing and strategic sector, for employment generation, for government revenue, no? Strategic and geopolitical value. But all you have to do is just give the examples. Then environmental hazard. वही. So environmental hazard means basically what you have to do. कि different types of the pollution or environmental damages caused by it. So कौन से हो सकते हैं? Soil pollution, water contamination, air pollution, noise pollution. What else? Deforestation. What else? Soil erosion. Soil तो लिखा है ना पहले. Yes. What else can we write? Nuclear का. Environmental related आप बताओ. Biodiversity. These dimensions needs to be. ये आपके फिंगर टिप भी you will be able to generate the dimensions. ठीक है. वही points है. Nothing else. Deforestation example. Hasdev recent Chhattisgarh. Soil erosion की removal of topsoil and overburden dumping degrade agricultural lands. Water pollution example Sukhinda chromite mines in Odisha. Air pollution because of the blasting and transportation. Noise pollution because of the blasting. ठीक है. Climate change contribution, emission of methane, right? Loss of ecosystem services, that is biodiversity, wetlands, grazing lands, and the forest resources. Right? Then toxic waste. Example uranium mining. Okay, reading this dumping of the radioactive waste, right? Then human displacement, वो आपका last point आएगा. Remedial measures again, so political measures या फिर policy level measures. First you talk about legislative and regulatory measures के जैसे strict environmental impact assessment. Second, participatory approach, तो उसमें you can talk about strengthening the Gram Sabha through the PESA Act, right, and the Forest Right Act. Third, with respect to the technology, you can talk about the incorporation of the latest technology to reduce the this dust particle or the wastage or the treatment of the wastage. ऊपर ही आपने एक आंसर लिखा था कार्बन कैप्चर स्टोरेज, राइट? सो यूजिंग द अबेंडेंट माइंस फॉर द कार्बन स्टोरेज. वही पॉइंट्स आपके आएंगे. सो लेजिस्लेटिव एंड रेगुलेटरी, एनवायरमेंटल प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट, माइंस एंड मिनरल्स डेवलपमेंट एंड रेगुलेशन एक्ट, EI सस्टेनेबल प्रैक्टिस में, ठीक है, रिक्लेमेशन एंड रिहेबिलिटेशन की प्रोग्रेसिव माइन क्लोजर, ठीक है, then dust suppressor, community centric measures, district minerals foundation. पॉइंट्स आएंगे. ग्लोबल बेस्ट प्रैक्टिस में कनाडा's TSM framework, ऑस्ट्रेलिया's माइन रिहेबिलिटेशन. बट इवन इफ सपोज इतने स्पेसिफिक पॉइंट्स भी आपके पास नहीं है, देन ऑल्सो यू कैन जनरेट की रेगुलेटरी मेजर्स में क्या आएगा? प्रिवेंटिंग इलीगल माइनिंग, राइट। सेकंड, कम्युनिटी पर्सपेक्टिव से पैसा एंड FRA, राइट। लीगल पर्सपेक्टिव से स्ट्रिक्ट इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ EI। फोर्थ, यूज ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी, सो जैसे जियो टैगिंग और GIS, ठीक है, एंड ड्रोन्स फॉर मॉनिटरिंग, राइट। फिफ्थ, you can talk about what else you can talk about this, ऊपर ही आपने किया है, कार्बन कैप्चर, यूटिलाइजेशन, स्टोरेज टेक्निक्स टू प्रिवेंट द पोल्यूशन, हो गए वही, राइट। In conclusion, you can give the quote: we do not inherit earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. Thus, development must be in harmony with environment. ठीक है?
So, can would we say that what are we going to leave the legacy for our upcoming generation? If we
That quote also you can use. Or intergenerational equity also you can mention. Any keyword is fine. Terrorism, how it has manifested in India. Elaborate with contemporary examples. What are the countermeasures adopted by state? So here also, okay, this is the first part of the question. Okay. How it has manifested. Second, and measures adopted. थर्ड, ठीक है। ग्लोबल स्टोरेज मतलब उसमें आप कौन से एग्जांपल दोगे? इंडिया के रिसेंट एग्जांपल यू विल गिव पहलगाम वगैरह, यू विल आल्सो गिव दी इन मिडल ईस्ट आईसिस, ठीक है, अफगानिस्तान तालिबान, US 9/11, ठीक है, यूरोप में लंदन बॉम्बिंग्स, कौन सा रीजन रहेगा, रिसेंट श्रीलंका बॉम्बिंग्स,
organization के लिए
हाँ मतलब उसमें आप नाम मेंशन कर सकते हो, ठीक। हाँ, अफ्रीका, you can give Boko Haram, yes.
Draw the map and highlight the
Map also you can draw, yes. It's a global world map draw करके उसमें भी you can highlight the how terrorism is a global scourge and how it is manifested in India means the different forms of terrorism. What are the different forms of terrorism? Cross-border terrorism, narco terrorism, cyber terrorism, left-wing extremism, ठीक है, then in this insurgency, yes, ठीक है, then terrorism and organized crime linkage, ठीक है, वही आपके पॉइंट्स आएंगे। So जैसे after the introduction is you give the definition, manifestation में cross border terrorism, insurgency, left wing extremism, ethno nationalist militancy in northeast, ठीक है, then urban और lone wolf terrorism, narco terrorism and financing of terrorism, मतलब इसमें you can mention linkage between organized crime and terrorists, ठीक है। काउंटर मेजर्स अगेन, नॉर्मली इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी में जब भी काउंटर मेजर्स आपके पूछे जाते हैं तो व्हाट वी सजेस्ट इज यू क्लासिफाई योर पॉइंट्स अंडर सिक्योरिटी मेजर्स एंड डेवलपमेंटल मेजर्स, ठीक है। स्पेसिफिकली with respect to northeast insurgency, with respect to left wing extremism, with respect to terrorism, ठीक है। If not, the alternate way is legal measures, institutional measures, ठीक है, then operational or security measures, technological measures, ठीक है। On these lines you can generate the points. यहाँ पे भी legislative measures UAPA, NIA, PMLA, institutional measures NIA, NatGrid, MAC, operational surgical strike, Balakot air strike, operational Sindoor, ठीक है, then operational all out in Jammu and Kashmir, Samadhan doctrine for left-wing extremism. Then border security में you can mention CIBMS, Comprehensive Integrated Border Management System along India, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh border. ठीक है, that. Then counter radicalization, international cooperation through FATF वगैरह. Yeah, and now, as they have asked the different aspects or the manifestation of the terrorism. So terrorism is multidimensional. So its measures should require security, developmental, global cooperative measures.
I was asking if, for instance, indirectly the sovereign neighbors like China, they are funding for the terrorism in the Red Corridor. Can we mention it?
You can mention, in fact इसमें mention किया ही है. नॉर्थ ईस्ट वाला भी क्वेश्चन था ना एक. नॉर्थ ईस्ट वाले में आई हैव मेंशन एंड शो यू. ठीक है. So government of India recently stated that left-wing extremism will be eliminated by 2026. What do you understand by left-wing extremism? How are people affected by it? What measures have been taken by government? So again, this was expected theme. We had asked it in the FLT also, but I was expecting on the greater collab. I wasn't expecting such a static question. I was expecting more of an analytical importance of सेंटर स्टेट एंड इंटर स्टेट कोऑर्डिनेशन, बिकॉज वो एस्पेक्ट इन्होंने पूछा नहीं था. ठीक है, बट दिस इज इन एडवांस टेस्ट ये बेसिकली. ठीक है, लेफ्ट विंग एक्सट्रीमिज्म यू स्टार्ट विद द डेफिनेशन. ठीक है, देन एज दे हैव आस्क्ड व्हाट डू यू अंडरस्टैंड बाय लेफ्ट विंग एक्सट्रीमिज्म, सो बाय डिफॉल्ट definition will become your introduction. Then you highlight its objectives. What are the objectives of it? To overthrow the this elected government. ठीक है. Then armed struggle to establish the red corridor. ठीक है. Mobilization of this tribals. Yeah. And then this map we suggested. This was in 2023 and this is the recent map, 2025. This was after that operation which killed their leader Basavaraj or something. Okay. So it is limited to the only 18 districts now. Okay. जिन्होंने updated नहीं पढ़ा होगा, they will still go with 35 districts. Okay. But now it has come down to 18 districts. And then impact on people. Again, impact on people मतलब different aspects with respect to the life, loss of life, with respect to economic impact, all those. So disruption in development, loss of lives, migration, human rights violation, health and education setbacks, psychological impact, and erosion of governance.
So it is also hampering our India's unity and integrity. For instance,
That also, yes. But they are asking impact not on nation. They are asking impact on people. That is not the left-wing extremism as such. It is the different type. It is not left-wing extremism. Okay, the left-wing extremism doesn't want a separate state. Left-wing extremism wants a stateless society. No? That is ethnic terrorism. Then measures taken, again, security measures, developmental measures, Samadhan, then this deployment of the CAPF, etc., developmental में road connectivity projects, aspirational district program, Roshni scheme, okay. Then expansion of infrastructure, legal and financial measures, ban on CPI under UAPA, PMLA, choking Maoist finances, all those. Okay. Then state level surrender schemes, community schemes, just PESA Act, Forest Right Act, and to realize the goal of Naxal Free Bharat by March 2026. Security measures needs to go hand in hand with participatory and tribal led governance. Okay. Then major challenges to internal security and peace process in northeastern states. So this also we asked in the advanced test. Reasons behind the rise in the northeast insurgency. Okay. So here you can give the contextual introduction. The recent unrest in Manipur has brought the issue of northeast insurgency and internal security to the forefront. That can be contextual introduction. This was the map which we have provided in the model answer as well as in our X factor notes. Right. So यही map we ask them to prepare. ये map itself will give you extra 1 mark. Because ये map किसी के पास नहीं होगा. So state specific we have given the insurgent groups. Then major challenges, again ethnic violence, insurgency, porous borders, narcotics trade, interstate border disputes, extortion, and they have the parallel governments. Okay. Then taxation, then external influence, alleged Chinese support to insurgents. Okay. Socio-economic backwardness and alienation and trust deficit. Okay. So then major peace accords and agreements. This is the list. And then you briefly provide a way forward type conclusion. Time-bound implementation of the accord promises, sensitive border governance with Myanmar, and security measures for drug and arms networks. Key to making these regions as inclusive and durable. Okay. Then this is with respect to maritime security. Again, you can give the data-based introduction, 7,500 coastal region, but 90% of the trade by volume and 70% by value is through the India's sea or Indian Ocean. Yep. Again, what they have asked, why maritime security is vital? Then maritime coastal security challenges way forward. Again, a straightforward question. So why it is important? Trade dependency, energy security, right? Then blue economic growth, fisheries, offshore energy, etc. Then geopolitical rivalry, China's string of pearls, and India's strategic location along the sea lines of communication. And major challenges, again, terrorism, piracy, smuggling and trafficking. ठीक है, यहाँ पे you had a scope to draw the map. You can draw the map.
Can we also mention sir, that golden coordinator will be that Myanmar, Laos, and drug.
वही that you can show it into the map. This is this is your golden triangle, golden quadrilateral. This is triangle. This you can show it as the roots. Okay. This is your Persia. You can show gold, smuggle. This is narcotics. This is narcotics. So today map में you can show it with the bit of detailing. Okay. Then illegal fishing, right? Then geopolitical rivalry, China's string of pearls. Then narco-terrorism. Then technology infrastructure gaps. And then interagency coordination, overlapping of functions and jurisdictional conflicts between Navy, Coast Guard, and State Marine Police. Then way forward, yes. एक तो you establish a separate theater command, marine theater command, that greater technology or the capacity building of the State Marine Police. Okay. Next, you can talk about again community participation. So community participation, may you can talk about this, Fishermen has the eyes and ears. Fishermen has the eyes and ears of the coastal security. Okay. One unique point which we had suggested was this maritime militia and hybrid threat preparedness. Learn from China's maritime militia model. What they did was they trained there the commercial ships and they used them as the maritime militia. Okay. And disaster preparedness. For conclusion, you can use a quote. Alfred T. Mahan, his view was that those who control Indian Ocean will control the world or the global trade. Okay? And guided by the vision of Sagar and Mahasagar doctrine, India must blend, or simply यहाँ पे भी as per Alfred T. Mahan, whoever controls Indian Ocean dominates Asia. Thus, the India's policy should guide by this Sagar and Mahasagar doctrine. ठीक है? ठीक है?
And another question, sir, can we also, for instance, with a drug coordinator with Myanmar, we are also digital payment.
Digital payment.
Initiative है sir.
But किस लिए? How it is related to maritime security?
Not security, cordial relations with our.
हाँ उसमें तो दे सकता है. इनफैक्ट जो कल अफ्रीका वाला था उसमें हमने किया ही तो था. UPI वाला. Yes. Now this is science and tech. Energy independence through clean technology. Who can biotechnology can play crucial role. Again, we were expecting because biofuel was in news, right? So this biofuel पे already we asked, right? Key energy security by biofuels. Then again, you can give the data-based introduction. Okay. Then pathways to energy independence through clean energy. Again, different aspects of the clean energy. कौन से है? Renewable energy है, bioenergy है, hydro energy है. ठीक है. वही different aspects आपको देने हैं. E-mobility, waste to energy और circular economy, right? Renewable energy expansion. इसमें वही दे दो हमारा target जो है. Then green hydrogen mission, 5 MMT capacity, energy storage, e-mobility, right? And waste to energy and circular economy. Then role of biotechnology में वही different themes of the biotechnology, biofuels and bioethanol, biogas, biodiesel, and then marine biotechnology, right? Biofertilizers, right? That microbial. इसके बाद भी if you want, you can make a table highlighting the challenges and way forward. And in the spirit of Amrit Kal, because what they have asked is by 2047. So 2047 is Amrit Kal. So by in the spirit of Amrit Kal, blending innovation with sustainability will enable India emerge as the self-reliant green energy leader. And PM Modi का simple quote है, energy independence will be foundation of economic independence. ठीक है, so वही quote हम use करेंगे. Right? This is how you can write up. इसमें मैंने 10 points दिए but at least ये पहले 5 points तो easy है to remember. So 5 points here, 5 points here, and even if you do two issues and way forward using a table, you will end up with 14 points. Right? That, and it is a 10 marker question. That is more than sufficient. और अगर FLT का आपने आंसर पढ़ा होता तो already you would have more specific and precise points. ठीक है? Okay, so this is all in GS3. वो नहीं, that is a static है, उसका तो वो मॉडल आंसर से पढ़ लो आप. So there is not much to, मतलब उसमें कोई फ्रेमवर्क या कुछ नहीं है. ठीक है, इसका डायरेक्टली मॉडल आंसर से पढ़ लो और वो थीम रिपीट भी नहीं होने वाला है. There is no point. ठीक है, ये समझ आया GS3? Nothing, you just dump the data in GS3. You'll get the mark. Nothing else.
Demarcate the facts and the key usability of the facts in the multiple facet of the answers.
तो सी फर्स्ट थिंग इन GS3 जैसे मैंने कहा कि क्वेश्चन दे आर आस्किंग क्वेश्चन ऑन द वेरी ब्रॉडर थीम्स, जैसे बायोटेक्नोलॉजी एंटायर बायोटेक्नोलॉजी पे पूछा, बट यू नीड टू फर्स्ट सेग्रीगेट योर कंटेंट एज पर द टॉपिक्स. ठीक है कि क्रॉपिंग पैटर्न अब हो गया तो उसका पहले थोड़ा सा कंटेंट सेग्रीगेट करके रखो. सेकंड, व्हेन यू रीड द क्वेश्चन फर्स्ट अंडरस्टैंड कि कौन से थीम से है. ठीक है, जैसे वेरी फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन यू आर नॉट एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड कि इट इज रिलेटेड टू क्रॉपिंग पैटर्न, अगर वो अंडरस्टैंड कर लेते तो अपने आप आ जाता. राइट. नेक्स्ट, जो की कंसेप्ट्स है उसके इंपॉर्टेंट कंपोनेंट्स यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड. जैसे क्लीन एनर्जी के कौन से डायमेंशंस है, बायो एनर्जी है, रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी है, एनर्जी स्टोरेज है, ईवीज है. राइट. इंक्लूसिव ग्रोथ के कौन से कंपोनेंट्स है, पॉलिटिकल, इकोनॉमिक, सोशल. पॉलिटिकल में पार्टिसिपेशन, डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन, इकोनॉमिक में कि सोशल सिक्योरिटी, एम्प्लॉयमेंट, रिडक्शन इन पॉवर्टी, सोशल में जेंडर, रीजनल. राइट. वो एस्पेक्ट्स है, तो वो उसके डिफरेंट एस्पेक्ट्स या फिर कंपोनेंट्स यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड. वंस यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट फिर कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. ठीक है, उसी के हिसाब से यू कैन जनरेट द पॉइंट्स. डेटा एज सच नहीं, बिकॉज वही हो रहा है कि इसमें एज सच अटेम्प्ट ना करने जैसा कोई क्वेश्चन है ही नहीं. जैसे GS2 में यू माइट नॉट नो अबाउट द करप्ट प्रैक्टिस, क्या लिख के आओगे. यहाँ पे ऐसा, अगर ये लास्ट क्वेश्चन अगर आप छोड़ो, इफ यू लीव दिस क्वेश्चन, देयर इज नॉट अ सिंगल क्वेश्चन कि वेयर यू वांट टू बी एबल टू राइट समथिंग. इसमें यू वांट टू बी एबल टू राइट, बट बाकी एक भी ऐसा क्वेश्चन नहीं. सो एवरीबडी इज राइटिंग एवरीथिंग. और ऐसा भी नहीं होता कुछ भी लिख के आता है, तो दे हैव द एटलीस्ट सम डिसेंट लेवल ऑफ द कंटेंट. बट उस कंटेंट में प्रिसीजन, उस कंटेंट में रिचनेस और उस कंटेंट में डायमेंशन डाइवर्सिफिकेशन. ठीक है, जो मैंने पहले ही कहा था. राइट. और उस डायमेंशन टू ब्रिंग दैट डायमेंशन डाइवर्सिफिकेशन यू नीड टू हैव द फ्रेमवर्क्स रेडी. ठीक है, वैसे टॉपिक. यस. नो.
One more question. You said that last year UPSC surprised by asking one type of question on all years.
I didn't say they surprised. There is no surprising element in UPSC. ठीक है, अगर कोई रैंडम क्वेश्चन नहीं आया UPSC में तो दैट विल बी अ सरप्राइज.
चारों में एक ही का क्वेश्चन हो गया.
हाँ, NGO पे. यस, सेम ही होगा डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द थीम ऑफ द क्वेश्चन. अब NGO थीम है आपका. अब जैसे यहाँ पे भी द एग्जांपल्स दैट वी आर यूजिंग, ठीक है, वही सेम एग्जांपल्स और सेम डेटा वी हैव यूज्ड इन आवर प्रीवियस पेपर्स आल्सो. अब इसी में अगर आप देखोगे तो देयर विल बी रिपीटेशन इन फ्यू क्वेश्चंस इटसेल्फ. इसी पेपर में इधर सॉल्ट वाटर, इंट्रूजन और ग्राउंड वाटर का, दोनों में देयर हैज टू बी फ्यू ओवरलैपिंग पॉइंट्स. तो वो आएंगे, यू कांट डू एनीथिंग अबाउट इट. राइट. सिमिलरली आपका कार्बन कैप्चर, यूटिलाइजेशन और स्टोरेज, वो सेम पॉइंट आपने कहाँ पे आया, बायोटेक्नोलॉजी वाले क्वेश्चंस में. ठीक है, सो दैट्स कंप्लीटली फाइन. ठीक है, अब सी two things on which UPSC gives you marks, I always tell the students, is one is the relevance and second is the common sense. ठीक है, as long as your points are relevant to that particular theme. So अगर same point आपका दो क्वेश्चन में आ जाए, that's completely fine as long as it is relevant. Second, common sense as in कि the crux of that particular theme or the basic points related to that theme, that should never be missed. जैसे एग्रीकल्चर के दो क्वेश्चन में हमारा एक ही सिंगल पॉइंट आया था, लैंड फ्रेगमेंटेशन. राइट. तो दैट इज द फंडामेंटल इशू इन द एग्रीकल्चर, तो वो आना ही चाहिए. बट उसके हमारे पास दो डेटा है. एक में इज 86% आर स्मॉल एंड मार्जिनल एंड सेकंड इज एवरेज लैंड होल्डिंग इज 1.07 हेक्टर्स. तो एक में वी विल पुट दैट डेटा 86%, दूसरे क्वेश्चन में विल पुट द अनदर डेटा 1.07%. बट स्ट्रक्चरल इशू वी वोंट मिस. Okay, so as long as it is relevant, you have to put that particular point.
So sir, at this stage, our focus should be creating the common framework for the each part of the syllabus.
Not each part, each topic
Each.
of the, yes. ठीक है. ये मॉडल आंसर्स यू विल गेट टुमारो, इथिक्स का जैसे हो जाएगा तैसे। यस।
Last question, sir. Yes, sir. This is I was realizing that sir in the 10 markers, is it sir this space का कब होता है? Sir 10 marker में space कब होता है? Sir direct से data से start कर सकते हो?
Yes.
Definition से
Reader start definition of it. User start usually the introduction is of maximum 9 marks. उसके लिए वो नहीं।
So map जरूरी है 10 mark में.
Relevant है तो जैसे if they ask you the question only this, ये लेफ्ट एंड एक्सट्रीमिज्म तो मैप आना ही नहीं होगा। जैसे सिमिलरली अगर नॉर्थ ईस्ट इंसर्जेंसी का पूछा उसमें मैप आना ही है। इंडिया मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी अगर पूछा तो उसमें इशू बताते हुए मैप आना ही है। as long as it is relevant।